Oh, all right. Welcome back to Loop City. I'm your host, Mike Skills. We are a group of five guys that love hoops, entertainment, and culture. Today on the show, we got Coach Matt Miller, Gonzo Star, and we're going to talk about Netflix documentary Untold, the rise and fall of and one. We're going to talk about some other stuff, but first, we got to start off with the blockbuster trade that was Donovan Mitchell going to the Cleveland Cavaliers for three players, three picks, two pick swap, partridge in a pear tree, courtside seats at the arena, um, Browns tickets, also a couple Goodyear tires, and they threw in some Snickers bars just for the sake of it. In other words, I'm being facetious. Matt, break down this trade. Why did Donovan Mitchell warrant all of this stuff? And tell us what was all in it, because that.
Okay. So first we'll get to the players. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell is the only piece leaving Utah unless it changes at some point. So Donovan Mitchell, he goes to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Lauri Markkanen, Colin Sexton, and Ochai Agbaji, the number 14 pick in the draft, will go to Utah. Colin Sexton signs the extension with Cleveland. They're for 4 years, $72 million, I believe. Yep, 4 years, 72. So he'll have the 4-year contract with Utah.
Woo!
And then Utah gets 3 unprotected picks, 2025, 2027, 2029, and 2 pick swaps in 26 and 28. Basically, they get the Cavs, whatever pick the Cavs get that's the best. If it's better than Utah's, Utah gets that pick in 26 and 28 because of the swap.
Now, we saw, if I'm not mistaken, this makes the Rudy Gobert trade almost look like, am I wrong to be like, this is better than the Rudy Gobert trade? Because none of those players are going to play for Utah from the Gobert trade, right?
Well, I think one guy, Malik Beasley, I think he'll play.
Oh, okay.
He's a good scorer. He'll play for them. But I mean, the Jazz got good pieces here. You know, Markkanen, we know the potential, but is he going to, maybe Utah's the place? We'll find out. He was pretty good in Cleveland. Not great, but he was decent. I mean, he started for them. They were, until Jared Allen got hurt, they were going to finish in the top 6. Colin Sexton, we know he can score the basketball. Little play. He's not the greatest playmaker. And he's a small guard, unfortunately. Then you get Ochai Agbaji, played at Kansas. And correct me if I'm wrong, Gons. He was the Final Four most outstanding player.
Yes, he was.
And I remember talking. Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday.
Yeah, we were like, really?
Yeah. So that's what's going to that's all the guys involved in this trade. I mean, I actually think it's a win-win for both teams.
Okay, Gonzo, you tell me who won this trade, because the look on your face tells me who won the trade. But go ahead and say it to the people, to the listeners.
Don't get me wrong. Please hear me out. Cleveland gets a superstar, something that they desperately needed, which I think that they're put in that same situation last year. Have to play a playing game with Donovan Mitchell. It makes it a much more winnable game against a team like the Brooklyn Nets from last year.
Yeah,
I give you that, because one thing's for certain about Donovan Mitchell: he shows up in the playoffs.
Yes, he does.
You got to give him that much credit. To be young, he absolutely shows up in the playoffs. Him, Jamal Murray, these guys show up when the game's on the line. Okay? But let's not even talk about the trades. Let's just go to this. Let's look at the finesse job that Utah has done. Like, they have stole picks. I mean, they have. Let's be honest. For what Rudy Gobert was traded for, you would assume that's what Donovan Mitchell would possibly be traded for and more. You got Rudy Yogurt, and you gave up all of that for what? 15 and 10, and somebody who scores 2 points in a playoff game. That's what you swapped.
Mm-hmm.
Utah has finessed the league. They messed up. They finessed the league. They've cheated the trade market because people didn't want to give up picks for players like Kevin Durant. Let me tell you something. Kevin Durant for 2 years is worth more than the rest of Rudy Gobert's whole career. Let's get that straight.
Wow.
Let's not make any mistakes about it. It's not even a comparison. I'm not saying Rudy Gobert is not a good rim protector, but and a decent rebounder, but that's all. He won't show up in the playoffs. He might get you 2 points and 11 rebounds, but he's not worth all those picks because one thing about all those picks that Utah had, one of those picks are gonna hit at some point, and they'll probably be worth more than Rudy Gobert.
Wow.
And I'm betting too. And don't get me wrong, Colin Sexton is a good player. Lauri Markkanen played a good backup role last year for Cleveland. Yes, he had a decent season. He played well, but he's not a piece that's going to change the Utah franchise. Sexton is not going to be a piece to change the Utah franchise. They'll probably be a lottery team next year.
Ooh, yeah, which is what they want.
Oh yeah, they're going all in for Wembanyama. That's the prize. Him or that guard that is going to be in the G League this year. Scoot Henderson, I think is his name, is the other prize in this draft. There's 2 of them.
And if I'm not mistaken, I saw a stat. They were talking, I think I saw it on ESPN, and it was that Donovan Mitchell has the 4th highest playoff average of any active player behind like LeBron, Luka, and I think Jimmy Butler.
I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, less games, obviously.
Yeah.
Same thing with Luka, because Luka, I think, is like all-time scored playoff leader average. But I'm a Luka guy, but that's just hasn't played as many games.
But to Gonzo's point, first of all, Cleveland shouldn't have.
Hold on, Mike. Let's go to Greg here. He's got something for us.
One thing about Donovan Mitchell, he hasn't had as many playoff games as everybody else. But he's usually making the playoffs every season, just about.
Yes.
And he shows up every year in the playoffs. Same thing with Luka. Luka hasn't been in long, but he's showing up every time he's in the playoffs. At the end of the day, it's the supporting cast for Luka and Donovan Mitchell. It's really the supporting cast that are holding all these guys back.
Yeah. No, that's agreed. Utah. I think Utah overachieved the past couple years, and what haunts Utah is that 2020 playoff run in the bubble when they went up 3-1 on the Nuggets, and Mitchell had that crazy series where he had like 50, 40, 48. I think he had 2 50-point games in that series, and then Murray had some similar point totals as well. But I think that opportunity and then them coming back the year before last, going almost to the conference finals and falling to the Kawhi less Clippers after Kawhi went down, those 2 playoffs haunt them. And I think Danny Ainge coming in, he's like, I seen this before. We gonna bottom out. We gonna fire sale. Everything must go. Royce O'Neal to the Nets. Rudy Gobert over there to the Wolves. All the players coming for him. We might keep 2 of y'all, but we gonna waive y'all because we don't want y'all. We want picks. We want to suck. We want to be sorry. We want to get that French boy. We want that other French boy. We got rid of our French boy for another French boy for a chance to get him.
What Danny Ainge is hoping is, if you saw what he did in Boston, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, Robert Williams now, who they got in the 2018
Grant
draft.
Williams.
Yeah, you got Peyton Pritchard, the young boy off the bench who's got some game. Like they did really well with the picks. So I think that's what he wants. He thinks he can do that. In Utah, you get all these picks, and as Gon said, he's going to hit on one. Hell, they got like 20. I mean, what? I think only Oklahoma City probably has more picks over the next. And I mean, what Danny Ainge now.
And I'm laughing, Matt, because Oklahoma City has like 17 picks for the rest of the decade. Some stupid number like that.
It hasn't been that long since they made those trades, and I think we would all probably agree for the most part, they've already hit on one of them in Josh Giddey. It looks like they hit on Giddey.
Well, they hit on Chet too. It's just he unfortunately got injured on a slip and fall accident, he did the opposite of what someone does when they get $1 million. Usually somebody do a slip and fall at a Walmart and then sue them for a couple $1 million. He got the $1 million and did the slip and fall.
And he's being unfairly bashed for it too.
Yeah.
We knew he would break. There was condensation on the floor.
He slipped on the floor. Yeah. They had to cancel the rest of the game.
He was backpedaling because he didn't want LeBron James to cave his chest in.
And when LeBron, year 20 damn near saw that, he was like, yeah, we shutting this game over because I got plans. Go ahead, Gonzo. Gonzo, go here, bro.
Wait. Hold on. First of all, Chet Holmgren should know better. When you got a body built like that, you can't afford to play pro-am games. That's first of all. His body is not NBA ready yet. And he's been playing a lot of games. He played, Summer League? Now you're playing just pro-am exhibition games? No way you should have been out there. And then you're out there playing against LeBron James. Like, you're just one bulldoze away from having your career ended by LeBron James. Have you seen the body on LeBron James?
Yeah.
There's no reason why Chet Holmgren should even out there playing with LeBron at this moment unless he's on an NBA court in a regular season game. That was totally that injury should not have happened. He should not have been playing.
I agree. The injury shouldn't have happened. Should he not been playing? That's probably where we disagree. But the injury shouldn't have happened. Like, that facility is terrible. Because when he got injured, LeBron was like, "Nah, we ain't playing no more." The Kings say we ain't playing. That's what Patrick Beverley said. And something you said earlier, Gonzo, I wanted to add to was, if Donovan Mitchell's on Cleveland, not only do they win the play-in game, they're not even in the play-in. What was it? I heard a stat the other day that they started something like 31-25, and they finished like 9-17. And I'm like, if you have a player like Donovan Mitchell, a guy that can close, especially in the Eastern Conference, where he's going to thrive as a guard. There's a lot of bigs in the East. When you talk about Giannis, you talk about Embiid, you talk about man down there on the Heat.
Adebayo.
But a guard, he's going to thrive. He's going to get to that mid-range jumper, and he's going to get the shots he wants. And Cleveland is definitely upgraded. They are not a play-in team now. They are definitely a top 6 team with, not having to go to the play-in, and they're competing. And we already said this. Boston is probably going to take a step back because they went deep in the playoffs, and also they're going to be hunted this year. Everybody's going to be like, yo, last year was a fluke. They're going to circle that game on the calendar when they come to town, and they're going to take it to them. Milwaukee is reloaded. Milwaukee is going to be the favorite to come out of the East. Philly is Harden going to show up like he's been showing up in the summer right now, looking slim and trim? Is he going to show up in shape? And is he going to show up in the playoffs? Because that's the big thing. We want him to show up in the playoffs. We want him to get through the whole season, Embiid too, but we want him to show up in the playoffs. So this makes Cleveland competitive for this makes them a real contender in the East. It gives them a shot. Maybe a step behind Milwaukee and Philly and Boston, but they're right there. They're not too far away.
Yes, and what's going to help is because Garland had to do everything with the ball last year. Because we know Karis LeVert is he's not that guy. They thought he was going to be that guy, and he's not that guy. But now you've got someone to take the pressure off. Now Garland doesn't have to handle the ball the whole time. And also, Donovan Mitchell doesn't have to create everything offensively anymore.
Absolutely.
Which now he can focus in on the defensive end. And we know when he came into the league, he was known as a defender. First couple years, he's a decent defensive player. He was atrocious last season.
Yeah.
He was absolutely atrocious. But now look, he had Gobert protecting him, but now you got Jared Allen and freaking Evan Mobley protecting you. And they can both switch on the perimeter, whereas Gobert, you can cook him out there.
And
you're not really going to cook Mobley and Allen out there like that.
And those two are men. Like, I think Gobert is a small man in a big man body. Jared Allen and Mobley are big men. You cannot go to the hole against Jared Allen. And, I mean, we saw what he did in the play-in on what? One arm? He was injured, he played through that injury in the play-in, and Atlanta was kind of scared to go to the cup on him. Even though he had missed like the last 15 to 20 games, which a lot of people say, if you look at the record, is why they ended such a bad tear.
That's exactly why they lost all those games.
So I think for Mitchell, he's in a better situation now. He's out of Utah. He's out of the West. And Cleveland has just upgraded. So I'm really curious to see what they do now. I want to go to Gonzo real quick. How are you ranking the East now after this trade?
I got Cleveland at least the fourth or fifth seed right now. They jumped the Bulls easily.
Of course.
Easily. Who else? After you have the Celtics, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia, I could easily say Cleveland could be anywhere from the third all the way to the seventh seed. There's no reason why I would like to think there will be no reason why they will be playing a play-in game this year. It just shouldn't happen. With the roster where it's currently constructed, there's no way that they should be a play-in team. I don't even think they should be a 7 seed. The Bulls will probably be a play-in team. If anything.
And they still have Kevin Love, which that other shoe is probably going to drop on a trade. It's probably they might flip him for somebody. You never know. Like, I see you, Matt. What do you think is going to happen with Kevin Love? You think he's there All-Star break?
Absolutely, man. He was one of the best 6 men in the league last year. I don't see why you get rid of him. Championship experience, a good veteran presence in the locker room. I don't know why you get rid of him as good as he was for them last year. He's still going to make shots and he's going to rebound. You know, his role is less because he's coming off the bench and he's older. But
it's also less demanding.
Yeah, exactly. And I do disagree with one thing you said earlier. If health, I've got Boston penciled in at number 1. Getting Brogdon was absolutely huge.
Okay. All right.
So I think Boston, if healthy, they're probably 1. I could see Milwaukee finishing 3rd, just because they know, because they would have got to the finals this year if Middleton doesn't go down. Probably they win the championship this year.
Oh, agreed.
And they didn't need the 1 or 2 seed. They finished 3rd, and they still went. And it's not, if you look, would home court advantage have mattered for them? Because if you look at that series, I believe they won 2 of the 3 games. They won like 3 of the 4 games in Boston.
Yeah, they won 2 of them. So I
think they lost. They won 2 of them. They lost 2 of the 3 home games.
Yeah.
So would home court advantage really have been that big of maybe it wouldn't have made as much of a difference.
Yeah.
But they didn't have Middleton, and they still took them 7.
Yeah, and that's what we all agree on. Like, I remember last year during the playoffs, we were saying, and I forget exactly which one of us said it, which one of you guys said it, but Miami, they were imposters. They played an Atlanta team that was on a hangover from the prior year when they made a deep run that they weren't supposed to make. And, you know, other than Trae Young getting hot in 1 game, that was a sweep. And then in the second round, they play Philly when Embiid misses essentially half the series. Yeah, he played 5 games, but of those 5 games, he didn't look like Embiid in most of those games. He did not. And so what? It went 6. You know what I'm saying? Like, that don't mean anything. And Boston should have beat them in 5. So I think Miami was kind of fool's gold last year. I think they were really good. They got a really talented squad, but they were the biggest fool's gold 1 seed since Atlanta in '94.
And Boston, they addressed their biggest need, which was just real good playmaking from that point guard position. Yeah. They have it now with Malcolm Brogdon.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where they move Marcus Smart versus Brogdon, because I think Marcus Smart can handle the rock, but should he handle the rock is the question that they just answered with that deal. The deal is they need a primary ball handler, primary facilitator to get people going, and that's it. Marcus, 3 and D. You know?
Mm-hmm. Hey, that's one thing with Cleveland I want to say that we didn't mention. One of the biggest winners, and I think Bill Simmons even touched on it a little bit, and Isaac Okoro is what a huge winner. He doesn't go to Utah in the trade. He's going to be the starter for them at the small forward position. He'll guard the other team's best perimeter guy. On offense, all he's got to do is make open shots. Occasionally, yeah, you can get the ball, go to the basket, get a dunk. Maybe a little pull up if he's worked on that part of his game. But he's a big winner for them.
Yeah.
He has to focus on defense, which he's a really good defensive player,
Mm-hmm.
and now work on your shot in the offseason. Boom, be a three. You can be the ultimate 3-and-D guy for them.
It's kind of like what Jimmy was early in his career in Chicago. Jimmy Butler, all he was asked to do was come in and defend and make plays on the defensive end and allow his offensive game to develop year over year to where now I wouldn't say he's a number one, but he has moments where he could take the game over like a number one, but I say he's probably like a 1.5. You know what I'm saying? He's between a 1 and a 2. If he's your 1, I don't think you can go far, but if he's your number 2 scorer, I think you have very good chance of making some noise. Man, it's been crazy this summer in the NBA to think of all the moves and stuff that was supposed to happen, and then we actually look up and it's September and Donovan Mitchell finally gets traded and everything else was just Rudy Gobert, the whole Brooklyn saga, for those of you who haven't been paying attention or you really haven't had to pay attention because nothing happened, but Kevin Durant is staying with Brooklyn. Kyrie opted in for the 1 year in Brooklyn. So what do you think happens to the Nets this year? Because this is something I've been meaning to ask y'all. Kyrie playing on that playing for the contract. What y'all think y'all gonna get a Kyrie? How many games do you think Kyrie is gonna play for Brooklyn this year? I should ask first.
I mean, there's no vaccine mandate, and even if there was, he can play the home games. I mean, because it's a contract year. He is up there, and he's on the other side of 30, so that's not always a great thing, especially for a guy with injury history. So he's going to want to show he can stay on the floor. I bet we get 65 games out of him this year. But with the Nets, it really, to me, we know what we're going to get out of Durant. It all comes down to Ben Simmons. If Ben Simmons can be the guy that we all think he can be, especially on that defensive end, being able to guard the different positions, he's the best point of attack defender in the league, probably arguably the best overall defender in the league. Plus, the stuff he can do offensively, of course, he can't shoot, but maybe he'll be able to shoot the ball this year. We'll see. But if he's the guy he was a couple years ago in Philadelphia, for those first few years he played, then this could be a scary Nets team.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't write him off, and they still have Kevin Durant.
Yeah. I mean, they did add Royce O'Neal. I think there's going to be some other moves to be made because they had a lot of guys that were past their prime that were asked to do a lot last year. So how do they fill those roles? Who do they?
They got a couple. They got a couple young guys too in there. What's his name? Cam Thomas, the guy at LSU, can really score the ball. He's been in now a year. Nick Claxton has shown some signs of improvement. Mm-hmm. He's not great, but he'll be serviceable for them. Rebound and block shots. And if you can catch the ball and make a dunk.
Yeah.
Hold on. I see Gonz shaking his head. I'll mute myself, Gonz. I'm going to you, man.
First of all, Nick Claxton has height and he has size and maybe some athleticism. But come back to me on Nick Claxton when his hands grow and he's able to catch a lob because he misses those all the time just about. Kyrie Irving, he's only played 47% of his games in his whole career. I'm expecting 60% of his games this year because somewhere he'll find a way to sit out for some kind of mental issue, or he'll find some way to sit out because he's going to say he got hurt, or he just doesn't feel like playing. He needs a break. We're going to get that with him. This is my thing with the Brooklyn Nets. You get all these guys who usually can score. You got T.J. Warren. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, you got Royce O'Neal. But one thing you still will never address, they never get any rim protection. They just think they're going to score. They're going to outscore everybody. And see, I got news for Brooklyn. Everybody else is catching up. And everybody else is actually getting better.
Yes.
Like Milwaukee, the only reason why Milwaukee didn't go far last year was because Chris Middleton was hurt. If Chris Middleton's healthy, they're in the finals. Boston, They improved the point guard position, something that kind of hurt them a little bit in the playoffs last year. Marcus Smart is a 3-and-D guy. He is. I don't care what he did at Oklahoma State. He's not a point guard in the NBA. Malcolm Brogdon is an NBA point guard because guess what? Malcolm Brogdon can get you 10 assists and 15 points, but on nights you need 20, he can give you 20 and 7 assists. Yes. He can shoot the rock consistently. He can shoot. Not to mention, he's also 6'5". He's not little.
Yeah.
So he has some size. So that helps them out. Boston, what I want to see with Boston too is since Gallinari went down, I'm hearing rumors of Carmelo Anthony. If I were them, I'll look into that because you're gonna need somebody else coming off that bench scoring with that second unit. Philadelphia has all the potential to be great if James Harden gets his head in the game and get his head out of the clubs. He's already got his body together, so his body's back in shape. They shouldn't have any problem. Tyrese Maxey is emerging. Joel Embiid, we know what he brings every night. He got hurt and came back and still played better than everybody else in their lineup.
Yes.
So it's not a thing now of can the Brooklyn Nets go far? They really haven't addressed much like all these other teams have. These other teams are addressing needs and fixing and plugging spots where they need help. I understand you got Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, two of the greatest scorers. But at the end of the day, people have to understand it is about superstars. Ultimately, NBA basketball is still a team game. We know everybody can't score all the points, but you have to play together, collectively as a unit in order to win. You're not going to just win out shooting people and crossing people over. That ain't working.
Yeah. That's well said because the league has caught up to them. The league is caught up to anyone having 2 or 3 dominant players. You can't just show up and think you're going to win. And that was the problem for the Nets. They did not show up last year. They weren't even on the court. So it's like you thought you could show up and win, but y'all forgot to show up.
And you know something? And we're just talking about the East. We're not even talking about the people who are potential up-and-comers, possibly NBA championship winners, even in the West, like the Lakers. As long as you got LeBron James, you usually always got a chance. If Anthony Davis is healthy, and I see what they did, because people look at, they didn't move Russ. But see, what's going to happen is you're probably going to see a lot of lineups where there's going to be Pat Beverly, LeBron, and AD on the floor.
Yeah.
Russ will be coming off that bench.
Yes.
Because one thing about Patrick Beverly isn't the athlete Russ is, but mentally, he's better.
Yeah.
Because smarter.
He's just going to focus on defense.
Focus on defense.
He knows
He'll call
role.
things out. He'll pass the ball when he needs to. He'll shoot the open 3. If LeBron James gives him the okay or however the offense is working, he'll get that. The Clippers, we're not even talking about them. Like John Wall plugged in that offense, that puts them up there now.
Coming off the bench.
Even coming off the bench. Just look at the pieces they already added last year. They added Norman Powell. And who else did they add last year?
Covington.
Yeah, Covington. You added Norman Powell, who's okay defender.
And technically, they're adding Kawhi Leonard to this team.
And you add Kawhi Leonard to the team. Talking about them. Phoenix is bringing back the same team. I think Dallas is one of those teams which I'm concerned about because I don't think they really addressed any of their real issues to me.
What are their issues? What are your issues with Dallas? And I'll tell you mine.
Luka can't do it by himself.
Facts.
He can't. He needs another guy, preferably somebody his size or maybe a little bigger who can score and help him out because he's doing this alone. He's not going to go far doing it alone. And another thing too, Mark Cuban is another one I'm starting to get upset with. Don't do Luka like you did Dirk. You wait all these years, plugging pieces around him, and then he only gets one chip. Guys like Luka who made it all to the Western Conference Finals last year with the type of team he had, if he had more help, they go further. Possibly win early in his career. We should wait for these guys, these superstars, and want to start plugging people around them once they've gotten old. First of all,
Luka's ready
now. Luka's seasoned. He's ready now. He's NBA ready. He always has been. He's playoff ready. Give the guy some help to get him further. He's one of those players that you root for and you want to win a championship. I'm rooting for Luka, but Mark Cuban got to change that way of thinking. Get him a superstar. He need help. Get it now. Don't wait 10 years
he
down
did
the road.
try to get one when he made the Porzingis trade. It backfired, and that's why they're having trouble putting pieces around him.
Well,
they gave Porzingis the big con. I think it was the right move to make. They took a swing. It didn't cost them anything, really.
Yeah, and then they got rid of him, and they actually came up better when they got rid of him. As soon as they got rid of him, what did their record? Their percentage went up. They went from fringe playoff team to
and it's
what, 4th seed?
And it's not because he was a bad player and he was even bad for them. He was good, but he can't stay on the floor.
Yeah.
And that's what Luka, I think, is big. Everybody thinks Luka hates. He doesn't hate Porzingis. He just hates that he can't be on the floor.
Yeah. And Porzingis had a little friction thinking he was going to be the man. Look, Porzingis, you was never going to be the man. You came to his team. That's like me going to your house and think I'm asleep in the #1 bedroom. Like that's not how it works. You a guest in this house. You sleep in the guest room. You know what I'm saying? If you had your own house and I'm coming to stay with you, I sleep in the guest room. Like, no, Luka's the master of that house. And his name on the deed of that house. He was never going, like, Porzingis was tripping on that. I agree. Man, I like this season is going to be really exciting because one thing that we did not have was a lot of changeover. We just have a lot of guys coming back from injuries, and I appreciate what you said, Greg, because we didn't even acknowledge Denver. They coming back. They got Denver's coming back. Memphis, even though they got some injuries, they're coming back. We don't know what's going to happen with Portland with Dame. You know, that could be a threat out west for maybe one of the play-in seeds. Matt's favorite team, or should I say Matt's #1 league pass team, the Pelicans. Like, Zion is coming back to that team, which gave Phoenix some trouble. And after we saw what Dallas did to Phoenix, we looking at New Orleans like, oh, they got something there. They got a team there. They got a squad. They defend. They move the ball, you know. And imagine them with a whole season with CJ. A whole season together with Zion healthy. A whole season with Ingram. Like,
yeah, they have the most unstoppable force in the NBA in Zion. You cannot stop him. He's too big.
Yeah,
when he played, we saw what he did.
And
he was young. When he did that, he was 20 years old the last time he played. He dominated. You can't stop it.
And they're young. Like, I need to take a closer look at their opening playoff series. Or not playoff series, their opening schedule. But if they get off to a nice little run.
They got a tough opening. Their first 10 games are kind of tough.
Oh, okay. Because last year, their opening was tough. And then they hit that nice streak around like late December, early January. And they started going. Because I remember me and you were talking about it. You were like, Mike, they're going to make the play-in. And I was like, man, hell no, they won't make the play-in. And we went down their schedule like, they got the Lakers. They got the Clippers. They got the Nuggets twice. They got Milwaukee. They had Portland. They had Phoenix. All of these top teams. And they came out of that 500, which we expected them to go like 0-8. But yeah, man, this is going to be a very exciting season. I can't wait for us to do our season previews in the next coming weeks. I can't wait for us to do the 2K preview and some other surprises we got up our sleeves. But before we get to that, we got to talk about something else. This is the new segment, Put You Up on Game, something that you may have seen, you may not have seen, something you should know. And it's basketball related, it's entertainment related, it's culture related. And it's the Netflix documentary series Untold is back for a second season. And they have an episode called Untold, The Rise and Fall of And One. And if anyone remembers And One, the beginning with the T-shirts, talking about like going into Foot Locker, seeing the T-shirt that said, you better go to church and pray you don't guard me. Or my favorite was the one that said, I'm the bus driver. I'm taking everybody to school. Like, when they started with those T-shirts and then the mixtapes, this documentary, The Rise and Fall of And One, talks about all of that, how it started from a T-shirt company to selling and giving away street ball mixtapes at a time when the NBA was in lockout and there was no basketball. Like, Matt, you remember 99, until the season started, everyone was talking about the And1 mixtape. You will go into Foot Action, they had it on the screen going in repeat, and people were just standing there just like, yo, who is that dude, Skip? That dude is cold. You know what I'm saying? Like, Matt, talk about your memories of And1, man, because this documentary is crazy.
I learned a lot of things. First off, like, I didn't know, like, it started with the three buddies that created the whole thing, and it was the one dude who created all the little shirts, the slogans, and they show how he came up. He was just writing in his pad all this, just shit talking things, and it was dope.
And it was actual trash talk that in the culture of pickup ball, we knew a lot of those phrases. A lot of that shit was universal.
I forgot. I don't remember how I saw the first the mix to the volume 1. You know, it had, because that one it had Ray for Austin on there. There were a couple. I forgot everybody's
had main
name.
Event. Had
Half Man, Half Amazing.
AO.
Well, AO wasn't on that first.
No, that's right. He was on
volume. I think he was. And then volume 3 is when they brought in Hot Sauce. But I just remember watching. But the thing that I always loved about it too is the dope music that went to it. I mean, you had that. The one that just sticks out on that first mixtape was that Stadat X and Common.
Yeah. Oh, and Common. Yes.
The one with Common. Yeah.
Yeah. They did like unreleased songs from like Rockets Records. So it was like the best of the underground music married together with the best of the underground hoopers. And it was so raw. And the way they cut it was like somebody would do a nice move and it would go straight to the beat. So it would be like, dum dum, dum dum, and it'd be like, oh, he shook them to the beat, you know? And you just and it had quick instant replays and everything. Like, Gonzo, do you remember where you were the first time you saw one of them And1 mixtapes?
As a matter of fact, I do remember I was at my buddy John, shout out John. I was at his house and he said, man, you ever seen And1? I'm like, no. And he played college ball. So he's like, man, this is dope. And I remember him showing me footage of Skip to Malou and how he was skipping down the court, like bouncing the ball between his legs. And then he did this move where he bounced the ball kind of hard. He took his arm, threw his arm on the ball, and then took his right hand and like threw the ball the other way without looking. And I'm like, wow, that's dope. But the thing I remember the most was the music. Like, the music was probably the most memorable thing to me. Because when I saw a lot of the moves, I said, nobody's doing it in a real game because most of those moves are freaking carries and travels. The ball in his shirt, spinning around, and then go back to dribbling again. Like, you can't really do that in a real game anyway. But the music made it so dope because it almost like, it kind of took you back to like this hip hop, day. And it just, the music was just so dope. Like you said, the way they dribbled, like crossing the guy up to the beat. And, you know, you cross a guy over and he'll pick the ball up, put his hand on it, and walk it out, and then, you know, go back to dribbling again. And it was all on beat. So that made it real dope, you know what I mean? But yeah, I remember I was with my buddy John, I kid you not.
Yeah. I remember the first time I saw it, my best friend, he went to Foot Action and they were like, if you buy something And1, you get the free tape. So he bought like a couple shirts and he brought that tape over, man. And for those of y'all who don't know, who are maybe young, much younger than us and don't have any memory of a VCR, this is what we call, let me dub that tape. Let me get a copy of that. Let me hold that. Let me borrow it for a couple of days. I'm going to make a copy and get it back to you because if I don't make a copy of it, I can't give you this tape back. Like, I need this tape. And there was no basketball. Like, the NBA lockout of 99, there were no basketball games in the fall of 1998, of 99, excuse me. 98, excuse me.
Yeah, it was 98.
There were no basketball games in the fall of 1998. And for the entire month of January, it was just like preseason and trades and stuff. Michael Jordan retired for the second time. So the NBA season didn't even start till like the first week of February, which is normally when you have the freaking All-Star weekend. So, and one filled a nice void in that. And the thing I really liked about the documentary was they talked about how there was a leaked staff meeting at Nike headquarters. There was a video of somebody, they had the N1 logo and they had it in the sights of like a gun target, almost like the Public Enemy logo. And they were like, because N1 was number 2 behind Nike for like a 2-year window in apparel, and they were just barely started making sneakers. And Nike put together that campaign, and it talks about how Nike responded. And of course, the most important thing about N1 was the tour. The tour was insane. Like the fact that they made a reality show at a time when reality TV, or as we call it now, unscripted TV, was rising, and they made it like a Survivor. They would go from city to city. People could come out to the open run, street ball, and 2 guys were picked up in the course of those tours. The first one, Hot Sauce from Atlanta, who just became an overnight star.
Yeah.
And then,
and here's the Hot Sauce one, though. Remember, the Hot Sauce, that stuff wasn't televised, though, when they got Hot Sauce.
Right. Hot Sauce they got on just the tour before it was televised. But they
only went to like 6 cities, I think.
Yeah, they went to 6 cities. And Georgia, aka Atlanta, was the last city. And Hot Sauce says that, you know, he was getting in trouble doing some little juvenile stuff. He literally got out of jail, and the open run in Atlanta was the next day. And he showed up. He had become an urban legend playing street ball. So when the N1 players showed up, people were shouting Hot Sauce. And they was like, who is this Hot Sauce? And they saw him, and they was like, oh, no, you got to come with us. And he got signed to a contract with N1. And the other thing that's interesting is finding out how much these guys were making. Some guys were making as much as 80, 90,000 a summer just to go on tour for like 2 or 3 months. And, you know, some guys that weren't as known were still making a few G's, but it's like, you know, making 10, 15,000. But it's like, wow, you guys that street ballers were basically hip hop Harlem Globetrotters. Y'all got to go to different cities, hoop, street ball. And a crazy stat from the documentary that I didn't even pick up on, the street ballers were talking trash. They were like, man, we would go to cities where they had NBA teams, and we would sell out their arena where they couldn't. So it was like, man, that's how big N1 was. I highly recommend people watching it. Like, as far as the rating system, I will go ahead. I got to give it an 8. I think it was I thought it was well documented. I thought it was well told story. I wish I could have got more from some of the other guys like Half Man, Half Amazing, and like AO, some of the other legends. I wish they would have showed a little bit more on Mark Jackson's brother Cadillac. Rest in peace. But, you know, overall, I thought it was a good documentary. It showed the company's rise. It told some secrets, showed how they actually ended. But I enjoyed it. Matt, what did you think about it?
It was good. I'm pretty much with you. I wish we would have got more. I wish we would have got more in there. Like, it was only about an hour and 10 minutes. I think it was really
they could have done like an hour 45.
Yeah, I think they could have gave us another 30 minutes. And you're like, because essentially they like when you look at the format, it basically highlights. Basically, you see, you know, Shane, Hot Sauce, and the Professor are basically the 3 guys they really focus on in the documentary.
Yeah.
Main event is that was main event that was with Shane, right? When they're doing the interviews. Yeah, I mean, he's in the interviews, but you really don't get much. You know, you get a little backstory at the beginning, but I think they could have been more. And good job, Gonzo. Escalade was the guy.
Escalade, yes.
Yeah, the big fat dude.
Yeah, like Escalade was basically like Professor's mentor, right? Him and Cadillac.
I
So
think so.
I wish they would have showed more of that, more of the other OG guys, because that's one of the things the OG guys complain about is like and not to spoil the documentary, but some of the street ball players have issues with the way the company went about paying them and taking care of them long term. I wish the documentary would have got a little deeper in that. But overall, I was highly entertained. And if you love sports documentaries, Untold season 2 also has a documentary episode, 2 episodes on the dead girlfriend of Monte Teo, and then Tim Donahue, aka Operation Flagrant Foul, FBI investigating him throwing basketball games, and that one is deep. I'm not gonna say what we learned in that, but if you can put 2 and 2 together, you know what Tim Donahue was doing. And he also references a referee who's currently still reffing in the NBA. So, yes. Yeah. Anything else y'all want to bring up in today's episode?
I think that covers it, man. We're good on the time too. Perfect.
Oh, we're perfect on the time. Well, with that said, I want to thank Coach Matt Miller, Gonzo Star. I'm your host, Mike Skills. As always, we are 5 guys who love hoops, entertainment, and culture. This is the Loop City Podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow us on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, and be sure to like and subscribe on all streaming platforms. You can find us on Anchor, find us on Apple Podcast, Spotify Podcast. We are out.